The NBA Gambling Podcast and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Nordic Fantasy. Going up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up with the promo code NBSGPN to claim your special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash on Nordic Fantasy. Promo code NBASGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamepodcast.com/rhythm, sportsgamepodcast.com/RITHMM. And welcome, everybody, to the NBA Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Saturday, June 8th, roughly noon Eastern. I'm your host for this one, Scott Reichel, once again joined by Lonte Smith. And together, we're going to break down Game 2, hopefully more competitive than Game 1. Lonte, how's it going with you?
What's up, Scott? Man, doing pretty good. Just ready to get into this game, man. Hopefully we can, like you said, get a better game. Maybe reminiscent of what we saw in the third quarter of that game. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to another great weekend of sports, especially on the basketball floor.
Yeah, it's a good time to do so. We had the women's final in the French Open take place already. The men's international series, the London series, is starting in about an hour. So nice time where there's currently nothing going on. Even the Euros haven't started yet. I believe they're still doing friendlies. I think that starts next week. So yeah, if you like sports, you might as well tune in now because there's nothing else on right now. So Stanley Cup finals later. I know you're probably going to have some action on that, Lonte, because you low-key like hockey action. But for the sake of Game 1, we got to start there. Before we get into Game 2, do want to recap what happened in Game 1. Boston killed them, simply put. The game was close for the first half of the first quarter, and then Boston went on basically a 20-something point run where they just blew the game open, and they led by almost 30 at half. So it was kind of crazy. In the span of like 18 minutes, Boston outscored them by about, 30, give or take. Then Dallas randomly made the game close. They cut it to 8, and then Boston immediately blew them out again. So it was a spot where Dallas seemed to have a good third quarter. Maybe you ended up seeing Boston take their foot off the gas. But when Boston was engaged, mostly because of the energy of the crowd and Porzingis, who looked incredible, simply put, for a guy who missed about a month and a half. And that was the story of the game. Boston came out, dominated. Dallas could not score in the game. Luka had 1 assist in the entire game. Kyrie sucked, and when Luka and Kyrie are not going to play that well, I know Luka had 27 points and he had 10 rebounds, but 1 assist. Luka did not play well, simply put. It's going to be tough for you to win if you're Dallas, and I feel like that's kind of a summary of it. The star players, the supporting cast wasn't good either, but the star players did not play well enough. And when you're a team that's so duo-dependent with Kyrie and Luka, and both guys don't play up to their own standards, you're not going to win. And we saw that in Game 1. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think it's very fair. And I thought that's similar to how the series was going to go. I know people were, down on Boston because of who they played. And
what did you have, by the way? What was your series prediction?
Yeah, I had a quick series, man. I had Boston in 5, to be honest.
I had Boston in 7. So I had Boston winning, but I thought it'd be close.
Yeah, and I have wrote an article. I wasn't able to join you guys on the show prior to.
That's why I was asking what your prediction was, because I don't remember hearing it.
Yeah, so I have wrote an article up. I thought Boston was going to be make quick business of these guys because, you pretty much hit it on the head. They're just duo dependent, and they haven't faced a team like Boston who's able to actually space them out and take away some of the things that they do best, Dallas does best, which is, is the interior with Lively and Gafford. So they're able to pull those guys away from the basket. They actually have to make Luka and Kyrie guard because they can't hide them on anybody. I think we saw when Horford started off, they kind of put Luka on him to kind of hide him out so he can roam a little bit. But you still got to respect, Horford's jumper, even though he hasn't been hitting him as of late. But yeah, I think that it was pretty much a tale of runs. Just like most NBA games. After that first quarter run, I got the numbers right here. Let's see. Boston ended the fourth quarter on a 23-5 run. So,
and that carried over into the second quarter.
Yeah, and it did. And then, the third quarter, well, actually from the second quarter at what do we have here? Hold on, let me think.
I think it was like the 6-minute mark. I think they were basically tied halfway through the quarter, and then Boston just destroyed them.
Yeah, so basically it was a 44-16 Boston run since 6:20 mark in the first quarter, going into the second quarter. So
about 18 minutes, they outscored them by about 30. So
and they poured it on. And if you just take that away and go into the third quarter, actually the second quarter with like 1 minute left, that's when Dallas was making their run. They got a little bit of momentum. going into the second half. I think it was 63-42. I thought at that point, Scott, it should have been like 30. I text like some of my friends and I'm like, this should probably be about 30 right now. And being at it's 21, I don't think that's good for them. So Dallas went on a 19-6 run since the 126 mark in the second quarter. And that kind of brought it back down to 8, right? I think it was 8. And so
yeah, it was 8.
Yeah, Kyrie had a chance to make a wide open 3, missed it. Luka had a shot at a wide open 3, missed it. Lively traveled and then he fouled. So yeah, man. I mean, I just think it's a bad matchup for Dallas. They haven't had the ability to be able to guard multiple perimeter defenders and also to make Kyrie and Luka guard on the opposite end. So you can see
Kyrie has. Luka, I think's the argument, but Kyrie's been a very solid defensive player.
No. Yeah, he has. But I'm saying, like, as far as so Kyrie was guarding who in the first round? Like Harden and somebody else.
Yeah.
So like
Harden
now
had one great game, but
yeah. So now like he's having to guard like Derek White. He's having to guard Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday obviously is not the best one-on-one defender, but he can post them up. He's having to guard these array of guys who can do different things, and it's kind of hurting him on the offensive end. Because you can see, like, he was getting looks. Like, offensively, he was getting looks. He was just missing them. And I think that had to do with him being able to guard on defense. And Luka was, he was okay defensively at first, but then he kind of got wore down as well because they were doing what Indiana did to Boston. They were kind of picking him up full court, not to, try to turn him over or whatever, but just trying to slow him down. And you can see him kind of giving the ball up to Kyrie to get it up the court. But all in all, man, I think, Boston came out. They played well for 2 stretches in the game. They didn't really put together a full 48 minutes. But
I would say they play. I think they played well. I mean, if you want to discount garbage time, you can. So
the last 5 minutes,
yeah, in about like a 41-minute period, I thought they played very well for like 34 of those 41 minutes.
Yeah, I can agree to that because it's just from that second quarter at about 2 minutes all the way to the end of the. Well, I say. From 2 minutes to 2 minutes, from 2 minutes to the end of the second quarter to 2 minutes to the end of the third quarter, that's when Dallas played their best basketball. Like that's when they were doing what they wanted to do. And then Boston got back into what people don't like about them. And they got the lead. They were kind of sitting on the ball, not looking to run their offense. A lot of ISO, a lot of Tatum, shooting contested threes, and they weren't playing as with a lot of effort. And that's to be expected because you can't expect a team who's up 29 to play with the same level of intensity as what they had in the first quarter. So frustrating, of course, but I think that it's going to be an interesting game too for sure, Scott. So interested to hear your thoughts about game 2.
Yeah, to go through game 1, I do want to ask you a trivia question, which I feel like is a good summary of the game. Dallas may have scored 89 points. Do you want to guess how many assists they had in game 1?
Yeah, I think I know that. They had 9.
That is correct.
No. Yeah, 9. Yeah, they had 9.
They had 9.
Luka had 1, and Kyrie had 2. Yep.
I think I heard this on the Russillo podcast. I think it's the lowest assist in a finals game since the Cavs against the Spurs.
07, yep.
From like 07?
Yep.
And that was a sweep. So I'm not saying that's foreshadowing, but 9 assists is crazy for an entire game. Now, Dallas could not hit a jump shot to save their lives in that game. They were 7 of 27 from 3, and Boston did shoot 38% from 3, which is kind of a story as well. But I think we all expect Dallas to shoot better. The problem is defensively, Luka really struggled, and it seemed like Boston was able to force him into about a bunch of uncomfortable spots. I saw Porzingis getting matched up on Josh Green, and Josh Green was miserable in that entire experience when he was on the court. He might have gotten hit in the ribs or the groin in one of those, and he complained to the official about it. But the point is, it just felt like Boston always had an advantage with their matchups because they were forcing switches, and it just seemed like Boston got what they wanted. Tatum was horrible. Efficiency-wise in game 1, he was terrible. But he had a lot of rebounds. He had 5 assists. Points-wise, he didn't do much, but it didn't matter. Jaylen Brown was great. I thought he was the best player on the court, either him or Porzingis. I think Brown, in addition to having 20-plus points, had 3 steals and 3 blocks, which was insane.
Yeah.
He was just incredible, both offensively and defensively. Porzingis was great, too. Even though the game was close at that point, I thought the game was over when Porzingis blocked Josh Green.
That was incredible.
I just thought the game was over at that point because I figured first game back, Porzingis probably is not going to be able to catch up to him and punt this. And he punted the hell out of it. Once that happened, I'm like, all right, this game's over as far as I'm concerned. And then Boston kind of went on an immediate run after that. But We'll talk about game 2 in a second. Anything else you want to add in game 1? Because I feel like Porzingis' energy and the crowd energy for a team that's been really bad at defending their home court for years. I thought the crowd was very, very good in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I thought that Porzingis' energy, even from the see, I don't know when they aired it. Was that live? Whenever he came out of the tunnel and he was like, I don't know if he was warming up or whatever, and the crowd was going
I think that was mid
insane.
Quarter. They aired it, yeah.
Yeah, that was insane. Whenever he came out, man, and I thought he pretty much installed that into that second unit, because if you notice, they didn't have a lot of bench success. I think Pritchard had right around 60% of their bench points. And he was a leading scorer in every game but 2 since Porzingis was out. So him being able to slide those guys back down, and, even though Horford started, he kind of got pulled a little bit earlier, and that allowed him to rest a little bit more versus playing, 8 or 9 minutes in that first quarter. So he came in a little bit more refreshed, and he had Hauser knocking down threes. Pritchard was terrible, but
Pritchard was 0 for 7, but Hauser was very good, and he had
Hauser was good. So. Defensively, he was really good as well. He played Luka really good on a couple of those switches. And I thought his help defense was good as well. But a thing that they didn't do, man, the reason why Luka wasn't able to get those assists were they weren't helping, and they weren't doubling, they weren't blitzing, they were just allowing those guys to play straight up. And they're actually taking away Luka's late pass, so they're not committing to him to double. So everybody's staying home, so he has no outlet. If you see him go to the lane and he's doing his pump fake, trying to look for an outlet to the corner or maybe at the top of the key, he's not able to do that because Boston's playing him straight up in one-on-one. So they're taking away the passing lanes. And that's, I think, what caused him to not have those assists. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of, counter that. But I think that was the big story of the game. Just defensively, Boston was on another level to me. That was, I know they made a lot of threes, but defensively was the story of the game for me. They did a great job. They always defend without fouling. I think before the start of the series, they were allowing opponents to shoot 14.4 free throw attempts per field goal attempt, which is the lowest
in the league, right?
Yeah, it's the lowest in NBA history, in the postseason. So they do a good job of defending without fouling. So that's, I don't know how many times Dallas went to the line, but it wasn't a ton.
19 free throws were 19-19. Dallas made 1 less than Boston did. 12.
Yeah, and then but we're used to Luka going to the line 10, 11 times by himself basically. Yeah. So I thought they did a good job of that, and I thought that was the story of the game defensively.
Luka went to the line 5 times, was 2 of 5.
Yeah.
So just going to throw that out there. I got nothing else to add. I thought it was a clinic by Boston. We'll see if they can replicate that, but it was a great game for the Celtics, a good start to the series, and hopefully not a sign of things to come. No offense, but I don't think we all want to see a sweep. I think we actually want a series, so hopefully Dallas makes some adjustments and we get a series out of it. But either way, though, before we get into any of the Game 2 preview, do want to talk quickly about the contest that we're running for the Hockey Gambling Podcast, because the Stanley Cup Final starts today, and you can join the Stanley Cup contest, which has a grand prize of a $100 cash and a $100 cash gift card, free to enter. Just go to sportscampodcast.com/Stanley Cup to enter. So it's something to keep in mind if you want to make some potential extra money on the side. A reminder, by the way, that we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, because Pick 8 is now live for the NBA Finals. Create entries of up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex your entries. So you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks, there are more ways to win. The excitement is higher than ever. And you could also win up to 325 times your entry. You can now use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. I know Lonte and I are going to cover player props in a second, so I might save my thoughts on my personal Pick 8 choice, but we're going to cover that in a second. Point is, though, don't miss out on your chance before it's gone. Sign up with the promo code MBSGPN to claim your special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $50 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy, promo code NBASGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast. Just finished recapping Game 1 between the Celtics and the Mavericks, and now it's time to preview Game 2. So for Game 2, the Mavericks are dogs. In fact, Boston is a slightly bigger favorite in Game 2 than they were in Game 1. Celtics, I believe, were 6.5 in Game 1. Now they are 7.5 in Game 2. And the over-under is the exact same. It is 214.5, which I find pretty telling because Game 1 landed 196. It went under by about 20 points, and the total's the same. So I like the over, first glance, on this actual number. But Lonte, I'm going to ask you, since you're expecting a quick series for Boston, Do you think that we see the exact same thing as game one, or do you think Dallas actually hangs in there and either wins a close one or Boston wins a nail biter?
Well, I think Boston has the ability to win the game. I just don't know how.
Well, are you picking them to win the game? We'll start
No,
there.
I am picking them to win the game,
Okay.
but the number is probably like exactly where I would put it at. So I don't know if I see a ton of value in it on game two. And historically in the playoffs, Mavericks have played well in game twos. But originally they lose those game ones and then they bounce back in game two. So it's a little different here. But I mean, the element of surprise is out of the way. So nobody knew how Porzingis was going to come out. And I think anybody who told you that would probably be lying.
I had his unders. That didn't go
Yeah,
well.
I mean, nobody knew. So it's like nobody knew. It's either you thought he was going to come out and play well, or you thought he was going to not be able to play at all. Come in like the OG Anunoby thing. You know what I'm saying? Like people were thinking he was going to be more like OG Anunoby than what we saw in game one. But
Anunoby made his shots though. Don't forget
he made two of them.
He made a fadeaway one-hand push shot and then never played again. But yeah.
So I think the element of surprise is gone. So I think Dallas does have the upper hand there. So they know what to expect now. They know Porzingis is, if not at 100%, he's damn close. So I think they'll be able to adjust to that and kind of make their defense better, because he was they were switching small guys on him and he was just shooting. Yeah, he was just shooting over him. Josh Green, Jaden Hardy. I think Jaden Hardy took an elbow to the face and then he got the foul after the and one. I think that was a jump shot that KP hit a and one on, but like they have to be better equipped, and they were playing the defense that they played against OKC, which was like they load up the box and elbows and kind of take away the paint. But I mean, Boston wants you to do that, so I think they have to be more on the perimeter oriented, kind of playing one-on-one. But again, you're leaving Luka and Kyrie on those islands. Kyrie's been better defensively, but again, this is a different monster with all this ball movement and player movement as well. So
and size.
Yeah, size as well. So I think that Dallas will come out a lot better. Obviously, I think those shots will fall. But if you think about it, Boston got a lot of shots that didn't fall either. They missed a ton of wide open shots as well. And I thought that just their defense just set them apart. I think Dallas has a good chance to come out and, those adjustments will show early. So I'm looking at Dallas early on, first quarter, first half. But I think the Celtics pull away in the second half. So maybe if you can find a Dallas Mavericks halftime, Celtics full time, I think that'll pay pretty well. I think that might be one of my looks that I'm looking at. But I do expect Dallas to come out playing a little bit better. Those shots will be falling earlier. And Boston maybe come out regress a little bit. Even though the start of the game, I think they started off like 2 of 9, 1 of 5 from 3. So they weren't playing well, and then KP came in and it kind of avalanched from there. So I think Dallas comes out first quarter, first half, plays a lot better than they did, kind of replicating that third quarter in game one. But I think the Celtics pull away in the end. So I'm going to lean to the Celtics on the 7.5.
I think I'm going to agree with you. I think Dallas can keep this game competitive early, so I'd actually rather take Boston alive. I agree with what you said about the first quarter, maybe first half, because I think that the urgency is going to be there for Dallas. And I'm not sure if you're going to see the same urgency for Boston, who we have seen in previous series have kind of nonchalantly approached game two. We have seen that be kind of an issue for this team in the past. So I think Dallas early in this game maybe can potentially win the first quarter if you want to go for a dog play. But I think for the sake of this game, I think Boston just has too much, at least at home right now. We'll see if Dallas make me eat those words, but I said before Tatum was terrible. He was 6 of 16 with 6 turnovers, and they still won handily. Jaylen Brown was great. Porzingis is another serious problem that you have to worry about. There's a lot of, I'd say, players that you have to keep an eye on. Even Derek White, who we know is a great three-point shooter as well. So it just seems like there is a lot of, I'd say, secondary options that Boston can consistently rely on to get production. And Dallas does not have that, which is a serious issue. So I think for the sake of this game, I agree with you about the first quarter. Maybe if you want to go for Dallas first half, but I think Boston eventually is going to settle in, and I think they'll get the job done. If you want Boston, by the way, I do see a 7 on FanDuel, so you can save half a point if you want it. I quickly want to see if I can find a prop that might be intriguing. Let me just see if I could find it, because I know that FanDuel has the market. If you're curious for Mavericks first half, by the way, Celtics full game, you can get that at 5-1 if you wanted that.
I'll be on that.
I was trying to find first quarter. because I know that there are some books that have first quarter money line and full game, and I feel like that could be an interesting approach as well. But I'm trying to see if I could actually find it without creating a same game parlay.
Yeah, I haven't seen those.
Okay.
That's a creative way to do it.
It's on FanDuel. I found it. Mavericks to win the first quarter. There are ties, though. Ties lose. So Mavericks to win first quarter and Boston to win the games plus 340.
So basically, it's a 3-way money line for the first quarter. Like a hockey, it's like a hockey thing, basically. Yeah.
Well, except no, because in theory, if they tie at the end of regulation, you lose.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
So in theory, you have more options, but Dallas to win first quarter, Boston to win full game in regulation is plus 340. I don't know if you're intrigued by that, but the price is kind of interesting.
I am. I'm intrigued by anything Dallas early, Celtics late, because I do think that the Mavericks will come out. I mean, I think they were. I really do think that when Porzingis came in,
Porzingis played.
Everybody was, bro. I mean, how could you not be? He was, and it wasn't just like you mentioned the block. Like his activity around the rim, he was altering shots. Like so, Luka or Kyrie was driving, and we're so used to Kyrie making those crazy shots with his left or right hand. He was able to alter that and have him pass out of a couple of those. And when Al and KP were on the court at the same time, it allowed KP to roam around. You know what I'm saying? In that dunker spot, which takes away those driving lanes. And if PJ's not hitting shots, if Derrick Jones is not hitting shots, and then you got Gafford or Lively in there. I mean, you got two non-shooters. So you got two guys roaming around, and they actually put Tatum on the big. So he was on Gafford or Lively. So he's kind of roaming around as well. So I think that's the activity in the paint as far as defensively was a lot. I think it's being I think the Celtics defense is being kind of overshadowed by what they did in that first quarter offensively. And then obviously they made a lot of threes, but that's what they do.
It's being overshadowed. They gave up 89 points.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like more people are talking about the offensive output rather than what they did defensively. I mean, the 9 assists, the lack of corner threes, did you see any lobs? I mean, I know they attempted.
I didn't see a single
they
lob.
Attempted one lob.
I saw a couple of like almost lobs where Lively or Washington like came down and then dunked it, but like maybe 1 or 2 in the entire game.
Right. So, and that was a lot of their offense because again, they're not switching that pick and roll and they're switching it. So, the big is coming up and that's when Luka or Kyrie throws a lob over the top, but they can't do it because they got Tatum and on the weak side in help. And they got Porzingis on the other side playing the pick and roll. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to do that. I think I was reading on NBA.com, 14% of the 3-point attempts from Dallas have been in the corner this postseason.
Okay.
They had 3% in this game. 3% of their threes came from the corner. And I think that's an absolutely amazing job by Mazzulla and that defensive staff over there.
Yeah, I do want to point out, by the way, one of those corner threes was my lock from the show for game 1. Shout out to Josh Green.
Wow.
58 seconds left. Had the over half a 3-pointer at minus 135, give or take. And he took a sweet time. I swear it was open the entire game. They didn't pass him the damn ball. He got blocked by Porzingis. They never attempted a shot again until the 3-pointer at the end. So shout out.
Bro, he tried to jump like he was Jordan from the free throw line to dunk on Porzingis. What was he thinking?
He tried to do like a Cam Johnson poster dunk from the finals against the Bucks a couple years ago, and he failed miserably. But that's the highlight of the finals. Jaylen Brown had a poster dunk also in that game, but that Porzingis block was crazy.
Yeah, it was
but either way, I think that's going to do it for the actual side in total. I'm going to lean over in this game. I know Dallas, you could argue defensively might play better, but I think offensively, Dallas has to play better. Only shooting, just to go through the numbers, they shot about 41% from the floor, 26% from 3, and they had 9 assists in the game. I expect them to play better offensively. I'm not sure defensively they can fully match up with the Celtics team. So I like the over. I think it's pretty interesting that the game went under by about 20 points and the total's the exact same spot as it was in game 1. That's pretty telling to me. I'm going to go with the over for game 2.
I'm going to be honest. I have no idea on the total. Like originally I was thinking over like in game 1 and it got steamed up. I think it was like it opened 215 and a half. I think when the matchup first set and then it got up to like 217 and a half, right?
The first quarter, 57, and then none of the other quarters had more than
48 points. Because it's a trend going on. I don't know the exact numbers, so I don't want to give you that. But if you look at Boston, when they have those big leads, they kind of just park the bus like soccer style in the second half. That's why their offense gets stagnant and they can't do anything. Or they're not trying to do. They're trying not to lose the game versus just going out and still playing. As running their offense. So
they lack urgency.
That's what we're looking for. Yeah, second half unders for Celtics games have been really profitable if they have a lead. So they've been really, so that's something to watch out for.
Yeah, I think that's going to do it for the actual side in total, though. Do want to ask you about player props for this game. A couple of things you can run back for game one. If you want to go for Tatum rebounds, I like that in game one that got there. I liked Luka rebounds. That got there too, as he had 10 on the dot. I liked Luka under assists, actually. I thought Boston might deploy the strategy they did, which is letting Luka go crazy and trying to stop everybody else. Now, one assist was not even in the realm of possibility in my mind. I thought he'd have like 6 or 7. I didn't think he'd have 1, but he can go for the under on Luka assists too. For those 3 props, are you just willing to run those back, or do you think that we're going to see a different script for any of those 3?
Well, I think we can still see a different script and still get there on all 3 of those. I like all 3 of those as well, especially the Luka under assist, simply because Celtics aren't going to allow those easy passing lanes. So if he's not getting the ball and just pass ahead or a late kick, then I don't know if he'll be able to create for others because they're just staying home on those guys. And again, some teams, I think Minnesota was living with Derrick Jones and PJ Washington and Jaden Hardy and Josh Green shooting those threes. And, they kind of got killed by it. In the Oklahoma City series, they were killed by PJ Washington, who, they wanted to shoot those threes. So again, I think that Boston has the ability to play really elite level defense, and it's going to take away those passing lanes from Luka. And I also think he'll be a little bit more off ball. Maybe you want to try to get him in a post a little more, get those guys in foul trouble. They've been doing a different thing where they're allowing Kyrie to kind of initiate the offense and have Luka on the backside, kind of roaming around. They bring him off a couple pin downs or whatever the case may be. So I'm looking for Luka to be more in a scorer's role versus a passing role. So I love the under assists. The rebounds, I'm with you, of course. And what was the other one? Tatum rebounds, right?
Yeah. Tatum rebounds, I see 9.5 or so. Double doubles -115.
Yeah, absolutely love it.
So I do want to point out, by the way, Luka assists are at 8.5. It is juiced under at -155. You can get 7.5 though, +110 if you want to go for that approach. But Luka only had 7 potential assists in game 1, so he had nothing for that. And even in the last game against Minnesota, he only had 5 assists. In fact, Luka's had less than 6 assists in 3 of the last 4 games. So if you want to go for that type of approach, you can go for a Luka assist under. I don't want to say ladder, but you can consider taking some unders for alt lines.
A reverse ladder. I never heard of that.
Yeah, something like that. Basically, just a ladder of unders if you want to go for that. It's a very dangerous proposition, but it's an idea. Anyway, I'm trying to think of any other props that might be tempting. I was on Porzingis under in game 1 for points and rebounds. I think he beat that in a quarter. So that was not good. But I do want to ask, though, I was on Josh Green for threes. I'm not sure I'm going to run that back. He's made at least 1 3-pointer in 13 of the last 14 games, but he only had 1 attempt in game 1. It seemed like he was kind of without a place offensively, where he had open space and they just wouldn't give him the ball. Like I don't know if Green's going to have that big of an impact offensively, so I might stay away from him in this game and just be fortunate that I cashed my play in garbage time down 25. So I think I might just take my money and run on that one. Any props you want to go with for maybe some bench guys? We know Hauser was good in game 1.
Yeah.
Pritchard's never afraid to stop shooting, even though it was terrible in game 1.
Yeah, I'll be on both of those guys.
Back Hardy, because Hardy, every time he checks in, takes shots because he thinks he's Michael Jordan.
No X
you want to
button.
back those guys? What do you think?
I'm going under on Kleba, man. Did you see Kleba? He was horrible. I think he's not going to get a lot of minutes as well. He was wide open on the corner, did not want to shoot the ball. I don't think he attempted a single shot.
He hasn't played many games. He's come back from injury, so he's still very rusty.
I don't think he's healthy. I think he kind of just felt like not forced, but I think he was like, all right, I'll just at least try, even though not
2
100%.
points. He had 2 points.
No, I don't think he scored. He attempted like one shot.
I think he had 2.
Did he?
Yeah, he had 2. He was 1 for 1 in 19 minutes. He was -15.
Yeah. Okay. So, but he had opportunities to shoot multiple times. Like the Celtics were leaving him open, and he would not shoot it at all. So I'm going under. I think 3.5 is his point total. I'm going under that. I like Gafford points and rebounds under. I said in the article, I thought this was going to be a Derek Lively series. Now, Lively did not perform up to his standard in game 1. Maybe that was a little bit of nerves on a big stage or a bad matchup, whatever the case may be. But I do think they'll adjust. The foul trouble kind of got to him. I don't know why Jason Kidd left him out there with 4 fouls, and then he immediately picked up his 5th. But
to be fair, who cares? I mean, they were going to lose that game anyway.
Yeah,
doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's true. But he's better moving laterally on those switches than Daniel Gafford is. So I'm going Gafford under 14.5 points and rebounds. I just don't think he'll be out there enough. And if you notice, whenever he got those, like he left them out there, number one, and didn't put Gafford in, and Gafford wasn't in foul trouble. So that lets me know he doesn't trust Gafford. Number two, when he got the fifth foul, he brought in Kleber. So why didn't he bring in Gafford? So I just think Gafford's minutes are going to get cut in this series. It's not his series to play in. So I'm going under 14.5 points and rebounds with him. I think you can find 13.5 as well. It might be plus money at 13.5.
Yeah. So just to ask you, do you know how many minutes Gafford played in game 1?
16.
Played 14.
Oh, close.
He had 8 points and 3 rebounds with 0 fouls in 14 minutes, and he got benched. So
what was his plus minus? What was his plus minus?
His plus minus was -10, which was actually tied for the best on the starter out of the starter.
Wow.
So,
I just don't think it's his series, man. I really don't. And he got those 8 points. I think he got 4 of those like immediately in the first quarter. He got a post up on Tatum, scored, and I think he caught like maybe not a lob, but he caught like one of those lobs like you were talking about with he caught the ball, kind of settled, and then dunked it. So. I don't think it's his series.
I think it might have been an and one, actually. Either way, point is Kleber, by the way, to go through his props. You said his points. I see 2.5.
Yeah, I'll take under. Is it plus money?
No, absolutely not. Under 2.5 is -135.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I don't care.
Kleber, by the way, for reference, if you want to go for points, rebounds, and assists, more dangerous idea. He had 0 rebounds and 1 assist to go with his 2 points in 19 minutes. So
what is his points, rebounds, and assists?
5.5.
Yeah, I'll go under that for sure. What is the
I think it's even money.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So just something to keep in mind there. But anyway, any other props you want to add? Just for reference, by the way, wanted to quickly mention. Sorry, I was going to go through Hauser's props. I don't see any lines on Hauser. Do I have a line on Pritchard? I do. Pritchard's lines, if you were curious, his points, rebounds, and assists are at 6.5 combined. At -130 on the over. His points are at 3.5. At plus money. Plus 116.
I'm interested in Pritchard props tomorrow. I'm very interested in that.
Okay. So just something to keep in mind. And if you wanted to go for Hardy, who we actually had double digits in game 1. Hardy's points and assists, his points are at 4.5. This is really funny, by the way. Hardy's points are at 4.5 at even money. His points and assists are also at 4.5, but at -130. So they don't think he's going to ever pass the ball. Michael Porter Jr. bench player edition. So just keep that in mind. But any thoughts on Hardy?
Man, if he gets the minutes, I mean, he's going to get the shots up 100%. So I mean, I don't hate it. I would go under his assist if you can. If it's even a half of assist, I would go under it. What is it? Do you see his assist?
I'm going to have to try to dig that because, once again, his points and assists are the same exact line. It's half an assist. The under, I think, might be even money.
I'll take it. I think. He's not going to pass the ball.
His under is -105.
Yeah.
For the record, by the way, he's had 0 assists in 3 of the last 4 games.
Yeah. He is the Cam Thomas of the Dallas Mavericks.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. He's had 1 potential assist in each of the last 3 games. He's had less than 2 potential assists in 4 straight. So if you want to go for that approach, you can. I even see a turnover line if you want to get really degen. Over half a turnover is +120. He's had at least 1 turnover in 4 of the last 5 games. He had 0 last game, but maybe he turns it over. Who knows? Maybe. Yeah. So that is plus money if you wanted to make a case for it.
Yeah.
Lonte, anything else you want to add, or should we move on?
No, we can move on.
Cool. That's going to do it for the actual player props. And now it's time for the lock and dog picks for game 2. Before we get into that, though, do want to remind you once again that we are brought to you by Rhythm, because if you want to look into a few more player props, you can definitely look into it with Rhythm, because Rhythm gives you the best menu for player props for every single playoff game. You can go through it and find the best player props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning the algorithm to give you the best chance at winning. Whether it involves picks or DFS plays, they do have player prop graphs to go with their predictions to help you visualize all of their projections. They also have a lot of player prop lines, either for star players or bench players. You want Hardy lines, they got Hardy lines. You want Hauser lines, they got Hauser lines, all backed by iData. So you can go through them without having to constantly scroll through sports books. Rhythm also allows you to create your own custom NBA models. So you can create your own AI-backed moneyline spread and total picks for every playoff game. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportscampodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportscampodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, Force of Habit. Just finished previewing Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Now it's time to get into the lock and dog picks for the show and an underdog entry. Long time, I'll let you go first. What is your lock and dog for Game 2?
Yeah, lock. I'm going to go with the first quarter Dallas Mavericks. How I perceive the game going.
Really?
Is I think,
wow,
yeah,
I was not expecting the lock. Okay.
So I think Dallas comes out and I think they play really well. I think they will be adjusted to what Boston did well in the first quarter, which was they'll shut down that Porzingis. Like I said, the element of surprise is gone, so they won't be seeing. I'm not saying that Porzingis is not going to play like that again, but I'm just saying like they're not going to be surprised by it, so they'll be more equipped and ready to handle that. Because outside of the last 5 or 6 minutes, they played them really well in that first few minutes. So I'm going plus 2.5 on the Dallas Mavericks first quarter, and I think Boston will pull away in the end, which leads me into my dog, Scott. Something that you brought to my attention: 5-1, Dallas Mavericks. First half, Boston Celtics full time. So we're going to go halftime, full time, 5-1.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good price if you're expecting Dallas to start off quickly. For my lock on the show, I think I am going to go with Tatum double-double in this one. Maybe you could argue that he's going to be extra motivated because he was awful in Game 1. I'm not even going to buy into that. I just think he's a good rebounder. I think Tatum's been an underrated rebounder for a long time, especially in the playoffs. He has to go through the actual numbers for rebounding because obviously he should get to 10 points. Looking at the rebounds, he's had at least 10 rebounds in 8 of the last 10 games. If you want to go back even further, he's had at least 10 rebounds in, just doing the math, 12 of the last 15 games. So he has been a monster on the boards. And if you want to look at the home games have actually not been as good as road games, but he has gone over this number in the playoffs in 5 of the last 7 home games. If you want to look at his head-to-head numbers against Dallas, out of curiosity, he has had at least 11 rebounds in 4 of the last 5 games against Dallas. Give me Tatum double-double at -115. I think he'll have a solid rebounding game. And I think you can make the argument that even if Tatum offensively doesn't have it scoring-wise, he can still find other ways to impact the game, and rebounds are a big reason for that. Porzingis, we know, might play some extra minutes. He's not a great rebounder, and I do think that Tatum will be hunting rebounds throughout the course of this game. For my dog in this one, I have a couple of interesting options. Terrell's not here, so I actually can get away with taking something below +140 if I wanted it. I think I might just go with a different approach. I think I'm going to go with a Luka parlay, actually. I think I'm going to parlay Luka points with the under assists. I think that's going to be my way around it. So Luka 30 points is -190, which I don't know if I actually want. I'll go with the Luka 31.5 at -122. I'll parlay that with the under assists, but I think I'm going to want to go with either 8.5 or maybe even 9.5. 8.5. I mean, FanDuel's giving you terrible odds, though. So I'm going to have to line it up quickly. They're giving you horrible odds on this. I found +190 for that on FanDuel, but I could definitely find better if I shop around. So just give me a second, but it's going to be a Luka points parlay with his under assist, which I think is, you'd agree, pretty heavily correlated.
Yeah,
but I do like how Boston defended Luka for the sake of Game 1, where they were willing to let him go crazy offensively, and they were willing to shut down everybody else. So I think that's going to be the approach I'm going to take for this matchup. Give me a similar script where Luka ends up being kind of kept in check with his assists. If you do a same-game parlay, by the way, the odds are worse, but I think it's better just based on a little bit of safetiness. I am going to go, or a little bit of safety. Give me Luka 30-plus points parlayed with the under 8.5 assists. That pays out a +160. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I agree 100%. I think the defense of Dallas is basically baiting him into scoring and not, getting those others involved. So 100% agree with that. I think that was on full display in Game 1.
Yeah, so once again, to recap the picks, you're going with Mavericks first quarter What
Yep,
was the
Mavericks
spread
first
on
quarter
that?
plus 2.5 minus 112, give or take. You can probably find lower if you shop around. That's just the number that I've seen, I think, on FanDuel. So
Okay, so
and
you're
then
going Dallas first quarter plus
yep,
2.5 as your lock, and for your
yep,
dog, you're going Dallas halftime, Boston full time at 5 to
yes, sir.
1.
Yes, sir.
For my lock, give me Tatum double in this one at minus 115. And for my dog, I'm going to go with a same game parlay, a same player parlay. Give me Luka over 29.5 points, parlayed with the under 8.5 assists, and that's plus 160 on a DraftKings. Now it's time, though, for the underdog lineup. I mentioned before that there is the new pick 8. So we're going to go with our favorite plays as well as an entry. So, Lonte, I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite underdog option for game 2 to use in your pick 8?
It would probably be that's a good one.
You
PJ
can steal my
Washington.
Tatum double if you want it.
Now, what about PJ Washington higher points and rebounds? What is it? It should be like 16.5, 17.5.
Okay, so for PJ Washington, sorry, I'm just trying to pull that up. That came out of nowhere, by the way. Why do you wait until the end of the show to mention PJ Washington?
I was going to use him as my dog, but I couldn't find a consistent price. It was all over the board, like 16.5, 17.5, 18.
Wait, what did you say you wanted?
Points and rebounds.
So for points and rebounds, I believe I see 18.5.
Yeah, that's fine. I just think he didn't play well at all. And he still got over that number. Didn't make a 3. I thought he was really aggressive. He picked up that second foul early in the game, but I think he'll knock down a couple of threes. He was able to get to the basket and get some momentum. I think he ended up with let me make sure. What did he end up with last night? A couple nights ago. He ended up with this is bad podcast.
It's 22. He had 14 points, 8
rebounds. Yeah, and no threes made. I think he went to the line maybe twice. So yeah, I think PJ Washington higher points and rebounds is probably one of my good looks there.
Yeah, by the way, Washington went 0 for 3 from 3, and he was 4 of 6 from the foul line.
Oh, okay, there we go.
So there we go. All right, so you're going to go with PJ Washington. I do like that play. We'll throw that in there at 18.5. For PR, my favorite play I mentioned before, it's going to be my lock, obviously. I'll go with Tatum double-double. If you want to go for Tatum rebounds at 9.5, either or. Point is, I like Tatum to rebound in some capacity. And then we have options for the other one. Do you want Luka rebounds? Do you want Luka lower assists? What exactly are you looking for?
That's a good one. I'll take his over in rebounds.
There's no overs. It's only higher or lower.
Yeah, I'll go higher.
We don't want to get sued. It's either higher or lower.
Yeah,
okay, we're going for rebounds. It's fine.
Higher rebounds. Yep.
Cool. So once again, the entry that we're going to go with Luka higher, 9.5 rebounds. We're going to go with Tatum either for 9.5 rebounds or double-double, whatever you want. And for the last one, we're going to go with PJ Washington higher, 18.5 points and rebounds. That's going to wrap it up for the Game 2 of the NBA Finals preview from Lonte and I. Lonte, before we officially wrap up the show, anything else you want to add?
That's it, man. I'm looking forward to having a good betting day on Sunday with hopefully a better game. So yeah, looking forward to that, man. Good luck to everybody out there.
Yeah, Jong. I don't know how to tell you this, but Lonte's lock was a first quarter play, so you can just go back and watch the show. Welcome. It's nice to see you, Jong. Hope you're doing well. Hope you enjoyed the tennis show. But yeah, Lonte spent a lot of the handicap talking about the first quarter, so you came to the right place actually. Just watch
right.
the Lock and Dog segment, and Lonte has you covered for your first quarter needs. But other than that, though, you can find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. Find me on the tennis show. Find me on the WNBA show as well. And, of course, we got NFL season coming up in a little bit. Find Lonte on Twitter at XXLonteXX. Until next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.